Fighters Only Television here in London, England, relaxing by the fireside with a nice glass of Merlot and Mr. Michael Bisping. Mike, the wine to your taste?
Well, I've got to say, and I've got to clarify this for a second. One, I prefer a higher quality wine. Two, I'm not really a drinker of alcohol. Three, you force me to do it for the sake of the interview. So whilst I don't advocate alcohol abuse or drinking, I'm an athlete. But for the sake of this interview, I will enjoy this glass of wine.
Getting kind of notes of blackberry there and a sort of long oak finish.
It's very nice. It has hints of elderberry and chocolate. Hold on. Yes, chocolate.
Let's crack on.
Swiftly moving on.
Start with your next fight first. Alan Belcher, next month. Been on the radar for a while. Been a bit of talk backwards and forwards. You've complimented his body art and tattoos and stuff, and he's had a few things to say about you. Can you give us your thoughts on the fight and the opponent?
Listen, you know, Alan is. I'll be honest. He seems like a good guy. You know, for all the talk and all the whatever hyping the fight, all the. I don't need to hype the fight. You know. But he seems like a good guy. He does. He's a good fighter. He's got a good record. He's been around the UFC a long time, also, just like I have. Up until very recently, he was in the mix. You know, people were talking about him maybe fighting for the title. He was obviously saying he was the best in the world when he beat Paul Harris. He said he's the #1 fighter in the world and he's going to beat Anderson Silva, etc., etc. On top of that, he's been calling me out for years. So when the UFC offered the opportunity to fight him, obviously I took it. You know, I didn't even think about it for a split second. I was like, yeah, of course, Alan Belcher. That's been on the cards for a long time. Looking at the matchup, you know, when I look at Alan Belcher, I don't see anything that concerns me at all, if I'm honest. I'm not talking a big game. I'm not acting hard. You know, I'm just being honest. You know, obviously my last fight didn't go to plan, so the time for talking is over, really. You know, it's all well and good walking around and saying you're one of the best in the world. You've got to prove it, you know, and getting kicked in the head and dropped in the second round doesn't you know, that doesn't equate to being one of the best in the world in my book. So I've got a lot of work to do. Alan Belcher, I look at him. He hasn't got the one-punch knockout power. I'm not worried about his striking. I'm not worried about his wrestling. I'm not worried about his jiu-jitsu. I'm just going to go out there and I've got to take it to him. The time for talking's over. What I've got to do is, and you know, people that follow my career in England or who, you know, used to see me fight early, I've got to go back to being like that, you know, and I hate to refer to myself in the third person, but I've got to go back to being that Michael Bisping that I was in my early career. You know, I've got to find my inner animal, so to speak. You know, my first 10 fights were all stoppages in the first round, some of them like 30 seconds, you know, and I was fueled off pure aggression more than anything else, you know, because my technique was shite. But I had the aggression. But I've got to go back to being like that, you know. Now, yeah, I've got a very, very good skill set and a lot of technical ability. But I'm probably a little bit guilty of over-analysing and over-strategizing the fight, you know. And it's a fight at the end of the day. Yes, it's a technical sport, and I'm the first to say how technical it is. And, you know, in interviews, you try and build the sport up and make it sound great and whatever. But at the end of the day, it's a fight. And that's what I've got to do. I've got to become a fighter again, as opposed to, you know, you hear a lot of people saying they want to be a martial artist. Yeah, well, I need to go back to being a fighter and kicking people's asses, you know, and that's what I'm going to do in this fight. Alan Belcher's in for a tough time, believe you me, and I'm not saying it to act hard or whatever, but round one, that guy's getting taken out. Simple, period.
What do you think's happened along the way? Do you feel like you've lost something along the way, or you've become overcautious, or...?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the stakes get higher, you fight better quality opponents, you know, more money gets involved, stuff like that, you know. So, yeah, you know, I don't know. I'm fighting better opponents. I'm trying to be more cautious, you know. I've become more cautious. And, for example, when I fought Elvis Sinisic at the MEN Arena, if anyone saw that fight, they'll recall I sprinted to the octagon. And went in there like a madman. And I absolutely annihilated him in the first round and got the job done in the second, stopped him. But after that fight, I said, whoa, I've got to control that. I've got to control that because that was stupid. That could have cost me the fight. And that's how I used to do it. Before every fight, I used to psych myself up like crazy. And after that fight, I purposely calmed myself down. I said, because, you know, I've got to control that. That was my first time fighting in the UFC in England, you know, so I wasn't prepared for the crowd. You know what I mean? And it just blew my mind, you know, that people gave me such a warm response. It really did. But after that fight, I consciously kept myself nice and calm. And my next fight was the Matt Hamill fight, and I walked into there way too cool. You know what I mean? I remember I was waving at my mum, you know, waving at my girlfriend, stuff like that, you know. And Matt Hamill came out and tried to take my fucking head off in the first round, you know what I mean? I was like, whoa. So it took me a bit to, you know, hold on a minute, you're in a fight here. But if I'm honest, I've continued that trend of trying to keep calm and relax and all the rest of it. And I think I've got to go back to just being, I've got to psych myself up, you know, and that's what I'm going to do. And, you know, it's a fight at the end of the day, and I've got to become a fighter again, you know. People don't, you know, yeah, I'm a mixed martial artist, you know, but it's a fight business. I've got to fight, and that's what I'm going to do.
Is sports psychology of any interest in that field then? Do you think you need anything like that, or is it something you can handle yourself?
See, there you go. And here's another thing, that phrase you just said, can you handle it yourself? I handle everything myself. I do everything myself, do you know what I mean? And it's not good enough. Yes, and don't get me wrong, I have coaches around me that help me, you know, and they do a fantastic job. So I'm not disparaging my coaches or criticising them in any way, shape or form. But I'm my own, yeah, there. Joe Silver, UFC matchmaker extraordinaire. How are you, sir? No. They insisted on the wine. I said, see, they insisted on the wine for the shot, and now you're making me look bad in front of the boss. Yeah.
It's good for the digestion.
Well, no, exactly. It's good for the heart, apparently.
Fireside.
Purely medicinal purposes only. What was I saying? Sorry.
Handling things yourself.
Yeah, handling things myself. Yeah, my coaches, I'm not knocking my coaches at all, but I do everything. I'm my own head coach. I'm my own nutritionist. You know, I do everything myself because I think I can, and you know, I've got to stop doing that.
Is that arrogance or efficiency?
It's trying to be. It's not. It's experience, you know, maybe a little bit of arrogance. It's trying to save money, you know. It's a bunch of things. I don't know why. Also, you know, I've been around. Listen, I'm not 21. I'm 33. I've done martial arts since I was 8 years old. So I kind of know a little bit about this. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, so sometimes I want things done my way. Do you know what I mean? But what I need is someone to kick my ass and say, no, shut up, do it this way. This is what you're doing wrong.
The sports psychology thing. Chael Sonnen, George St. Pierre.
Yeah.
You know, they've had good results, and obviously big names and stuff. And one thing that Sonnen said, he's brought in a psychologist because he found himself in wrestling tournaments and championships as well as MMA. He was always kind of getting within touching distance of the main prize and then falling short. And I think, do you see any parallels with yourself there? Like you're kind of just getting close to that title shot, and then it just seems to elude you at the last minute.
Yeah, absolutely. You know. Not making excuses and not building myself up, but I take positives away from that. You know, it means the fact I've been in this position 3 times, as you say, the fact I've been in the UFC for 7 years, you know, is a testament to my character and my ability. Yeah, I haven't, you know, I'm there, but I'm not there. I'm not at the top of the mountain. Do you know what I mean? And I want to be at the top of the mountain, and you know, but I ain't going away. You know, I'm going to keep trying, you know, until the day I retire. As long as I can keep fighting, I'll keep trying. And I believe I can do it. Regarding a sports psychologist, I have done a little bit of work in the past with a guy called Brian Kane, who's actually George St. Pierre's guy. And yeah, it was mind-blowing, in fact. It was because I always said, nah, I don't need a sports psychologist, behave yourself. You know what I mean? I don't need that, I'm all right, me. You know, but I did a little bit of work with this guy, and it completely blew my mind. It was mind-blowing, yeah, for want of a better, you know, I know I've said it 3 times, but it blew my mind. I was like, wow, you know, yeah, so, yeah, maybe I need to start working with him a little bit more, who knows?
I mean, to be fair, you know, the way the Belfort fight ended, probably nobody in the world would have trained expecting Belfort to be throwing head kicks and body kicks, you know?
No, I went out there, I focused on boxing. And again, I need to, you know, I've been focusing too much on boxing lately. You know what I mean? I need to go back to my Muay Thai, etc. Obviously, Belfort is known for his hands, so that's what I focus a lot on, boxing. And if you watch the fight, in the first, I outboxed him, and I got caught with a fucking head kick. Do you know what I mean? And good for him. Yes, he was on steroids. You can call it TRT if you want. I prefer to give it its real name. and call it steroids, because that's what it is. He was on steroids, but whatever, I still got kicked in the head. And that was quite literally my downfall. At the end of the day, it comes down to people's personal choices. You know, I've been involved in this sport for a long time, and you know, I've been involved in situations where people have offered me steroids and said, you know, a bit of this here and there, you know, and I've made the choices not to do that, you know, and I don't want to taint my career, I don't want to cheat, I want to do it the right way, you know. That's people's personal choices. If that's the way they want to do it, then good for them. I don't. I wouldn't feel like a man, if I'm honest, you know what I mean? So yeah, you know, people want to take steroids, people want to cheat, that's up to them. I'll carry on doing it the old-fashioned way, hard work, determination, you know, that's about it.
So aside from the TRT thing, what else is grinding your gears at the moment, would you say?
What grinds my gears? I don't know, you know, I mean, I feel like I have to deliver something to you now, but there isn't really anything, you know. What grinds my gears, you know...
Are you happy in life?
I'm remarkably happy. Michael Bisping is a happy man. There you go again. Refer to myself in the third person again. I don't do that ever. Promise. Yeah, I'm a happy man. Why wouldn't I be happy? I've got a job that I love. I've got an amazing, beautiful girlfriend. I've got 3 beautiful children. I've been successful in my chosen career. You know, it's leading to other things. I'm doing a bit of acting now as well. You know, I really enjoy that. Yeah, I'm remarkably happy. I never ever thought that life could be so fulfilling. Do you know what I mean? I'll be honest, you know. So, and you know, I believe that anyone in this world can do anything they want if they put their mind to it. And I'll be honest, and I'm living proof of that, because I'm just your average Joe, big time. I come from a very working class background. I come from Clitheroe, the middle of bloody nowhere, you know, and now I'm sat here with a glass of wine like a ponce, you know, doing an interview. But anyone can do anything, you know, and I drive all my friends crazy. I tell them all the time, I say, listen, you can do anything, you know, and he goes, well, it's easy for you. You can say that because you're a fighter and this and that. You know, you've always been good at that. I said, yeah, but everyone has a talent. Everyone has a talent within them, you know. There's something. It took me a while to figure out what mine was. I used to put settees into plastic bags and load them onto the back of a lorry. That's what I was doing at the time. And my boss said to me, he said, Michael, you're clearly an intelligent man. You know, I was never educated, you know, not academically, but he said, you're a clever man. You know, is this what you want to do with your life? You want to load settees onto the back of a wagon all your life? Is that what you want to do? There must be something more to it than this. I said, you're right. I said, I don't know. I never knew what I wanted to do. And I thought long and hard about what I wanted to do. And I said to him one day, I said, you know what I'm going to do? I said, I'm going to be a professional fighter. And he thought I was a fucking idiot. And I told everyone back home, and I told all my friends, and I said, I'm going to be a professional fighter. You know, and everyone thought I was fucking... And this is... No one even knew what the UFC was back then. Do you know what I mean? Everyone thought I was a retard. Everyone was laughing at me. All my mates were taking the piss out of me. You know, I had 2 kids at the time. I quit work. We were already skint. We were overdrawn massively. We lived in our overdraft, you know what I mean? When I weren't overdrawn, I looked at it as having money in the bank, you know what I mean? We were so skint you wouldn't believe. And whilst being so skint, I quit work. I used to borrow money off my mum just to put petrol in the car to get to work, do you know what I mean? And yeah, and on top of that, I quit work to go become a professional fighter. And God bless my girlfriend, you know, she always supported me from day one. She knew that I could do this, and everyone else laughed and took the piss. Well, they're not fucking laughing now, are they? You know, they're not laughing now. And my point is that everyone has a skill, everyone has something inside them, you know, but you just got to figure out what that is. Took me a little while to figure out what it was, you know, but it's easy to sit there and talk about it. We could all talk about it. It's easy to talk. Getting off your ass and doing something about it is the hard part, you know. But if you get off your ass, you do it. Hard work and determination, it pays off.